Hello everyone, my name is Leo and with this video we will compare the Boss GX-10 versus the Valeton GP-200 JR versus the NUX MG-30 versus the Matribox 2. First of all, we will hear the units in action in a demo song, then we will compare the main technical characteristics of the units with the help of a very detailed comparison chart, then we will hear more sounds also comparing the units versus real tube amps, and finally I will give you my 2 cents. So I hope you enjoy, and this video took me a lot of time, so please subscribe and ring the bell to help me to make more videos like this. Let's start! Let's now compare the technical characteristics of the 4 units. First of all, the Boss GX-10 has 23 amps and 12 cabs, with 5 dedicated to the bass guitar. There are no acoustic guitar simulation and we can choose among 8 microphones, selecting 11 different positions and 3 distances on the cab. The Valeton has 71 amps, 70 cabs, with 5 bass amps and 2 acoustic guitar ones. With the Valeton we can not choose a specific mic. The MG-30 offers 32 amps and 23 cabs, with 8 dedicated to the bass guitar and 3 to the acoustic guitar. We have 8 mics simulations at our disposal and we can place the mic across the cab in 3 different positions. Finally, the Matribox 2 has 63 amps and 61 cabs, with 5 amps and 8 cabs dedicated to the bass guitar. We don't have the possibility to choose the mic or its position across the cab, like the Valeton. So here I would say that the Valeton and the Matribox offer more amps, but are less customizable in terms of mics and mics placement, where Boss and NUX offer less amps, but we can choose the mic and its position across the cab, which is nice. All the unit offers the possibility to load our own IRs at 1024 sample points, where Boss has a proprietary format that obliges us to use a specific Boss app to convert our IRs and load them in the modeler. In terms of effects and effects chain management, other than the number of effects available that you can check out in the slide projected, the Boss offers 12 effect blocks, the Valeton, the MG-30 and the Matribox 11. With all the units you can place the effects in whatever order you want, but only with the Boss you can replicate the same effect many times. I mean, it manages multi-instances of the same effect block, where typically with the other units we have one or more generic blocks to which we can associate many different effects, so that we can, for instance, place 2 distortions in the chain using that generic blocks. All the units offer an effect loop for external effects, as we will see later on when we will talk about input and output. Obviously, the effect loop allows us also to use the units with the 4-cable method with our amps. Finally, in terms of effects, the only 2 units that allow to load parallel effects are the Boss and the NUX. As regards MIDI, no unit offers physical MIDI ports with the exception of the Matribox, which offers both MIDI in and out via mini jacks, which is cool in my opinion, as with MIDI we can overcome the small number of foot switches that typically these units offer. Some of these units offer the possibility to use MIDI over USB, but I don't have further investigated this topic, so if you have more details, please drop a message in the comment section below. In terms of I/O, all the units have a guitar input, unbalanced stereo out, a mono effect loop, and an headphone out. Here I would highlight that both the Valeton and the Matribox offer also balanced out. The Valeton via dedicated XLR sockets, the Matribox using TRS jacks. As you know, balanced outs are useful to avoid noise when we run very long cables, for instance on stage, in order to connect our pedal board to a mixing desk. Then the Boss is the only unit without an aux in, which is a pretty odd choice in my opinion, considering that many times these units are used for practicing, and therefore an aux in is pretty useful. Furthermore, the Boss is the more expensive one, and therefore we would expect that it would be also the unit offering more options and more in and outs. All the units have an expression pedal and 3 foot switches. To be noticed that the NUX includes in the box also the NMP2, which offers 2 other foot switches that we can add. In terms of screen size, I would highlight the touchscreen of the Boss, which is the only unit to offer such a feature. This is a useful feature for some of us. For my use case, I would say that it is not so important, as what I really use is the computer app to create and customize my tone, and all the units offer a computer app. All the units have a drum machine built in, but the Boss. The MG-30 offers a 60-second looper which becomes 30 in stereo, where the GP-200 JR and the Matribox offers respectively 180 seconds and 90 seconds, but it is not clear if these are the looper times for a stereo effect configuration or not. If you know, please drop a message in the comment section below. The Boss has the poorest looper with 19 seconds in stereo, which become 38 in mono. Let's now talk about ADA conversion and USB ports. First of all the units can be used as an audio interface via USB-C. Furthermore, the units with the standout feature, in my opinion, are the NUX MG-30 and the Boss, which offer both 48 kHz versus the 44.1 of the other units. All the units offers 24 bits conversion rate, but the Boss, which has 32 bits digital to analog converters, and the NUX, who has both analog to digital and digital to analog converters at 32 bits. Having 48 kHz, in my opinion, is pretty useful, as I typically record at 48. Now, I don't want to enter here the debate about 44 versus 48, but as I received a lot of questions about this topic and many of you are convinced that we just need 44.1, I would just give you my perspective. I record at 48 basically for 3 reasons. 1. The higher is the frequency, the lower is the aliasing. 2. For video production, typically you need 48 kHz. 3. For my recording, I typically need to do some ADA conversion trips in order to use analog gear, like analog compressors, etc. And therefore, 48 kHz just give me more peace of mind. If you don't agree, it is totally fine. And if you don't need 48, that's great for you. The units that offer the lower value of latency are the MG-30 with 1.1 milliseconds and the Boss with less than 1 millisecond, which are extremely low values. If you want more info about latency, you can check out my video where I've compared 23 amp modeling pedalboards in terms of latency. All the units run at 9 volt, and the one which requires less power is the MG-30 at around 400 mA, followed by the Boss with 600 and then the other units with 1000 mA. In terms of dimensions and weight, they are pretty similar. The Boss is the heavier, that could suggest that it is the most well built, even if I have to say that all these units feel pretty well built and do not feel plasticky at all. And finally, in terms of price, the Matribox is the less expensive and the Boss is the most expensive, even if it has just been launched. Therefore, we may see a price decrease in the coming months. So summarizing, the main differences I would highlight are the possibility to change the mic simulation, which is available in the MG-30 and in the Boss. The Matribox and the Valeton are the only units to have balanced out, and the Valeton is the only one with balanced and unbalanced out in different sockets, as the Matribox has balanced out via TRS jacks. The Boss is the unit which offers the possibility to create more complex signal chains with many instances of the same blocks and parallel effects, followed by the MG-30, which has parallel effects. The only unit with a touchscreen is the Boss. The only units that offer an audio interface at 48 kHz are the NUX and the Boss. These are the most significant differences in my opinion, but please let me know your points of view in the comment section below. Please let me also know if there are errors in this comparison chart and if there are other differences that are important for you and that I didn't mention, so that together we can help other guitarists to make the right choice according to their needs. Let's now hear more sounds with the more sound section of this video. Welcome to the more sound section of this video. Let me give you some tips to better enjoy this section. First of all, we will compare the modelers versus a real Fender Deluxe Reverb, a real Plexi, and also a Plexi pushed by a tube screamer. Second, I have used for all the units the same IRs. All these IRs are included in my IR pack that you can check out following the link in the card above or description below. Third, I have set all the amp modeling pedal boards with the same settings as the real tube amps. I mean, I have not tweaked the modelers in order not to introduce bias. Of course, tweaking you can get even closer to the real amp, but I think that using the same setting of the real amps, you can get a clear picture of how far or close the modelers are to the real tube amp counterparts. With this out of the way, let's start the tone comparisons. Final considerations here, and please notice that these are gonna be my personal opinions for my specific use cases, and you may not agree with me, and this is totally fine. In terms of sound, of course, each of us may have his or her personal preferences, and that's why I try to let you hear how these units sound by yourself. Don't get me wrong, there are tonal differences, but for me they all sound good enough considering the price, and I would not base my final choice on the tonal differences. On the other hand, I would base my final choice considering the features offered and of course the price. Therefore, here I would highlight. The Boss is the unit which offers the more customizable signal chain, with multi-instances of the same block and with parallel effects. The other unit to mention here is the NUX with parallel effects. Then I would also mention that we can record at 48 kHz only with the NUX and with the Boss, that are also the units with the lower latency. The Valeton and the Matribox are the units with more amp simulations and the only units with balanced stereo out that could be pretty useful if you run long cable and you don't want to introduce noise, for instance in live situation to go from your modeler to the mixing desk. The Boss is the only unit with a touch screen, which is in my opinion not a deal breaker, but of course for some of you it could be. On the other hand, the Boss is also the unit without an aux in, once again, a feature that will be important for some of you, also considering that you may want to buy such small units for practicing. In terms of price, I would mention the Matribox, which is the less expensive, where in terms of overall value for money, maybe the NUX stands out, having a pretty complete array of features and being almost the less expensive unit of the four. But of course, please let me know your precious and valuable opinions in the comment section below. I'm pretty curious to know which unit you prefer and why. We have now reached the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed, and if you did it, please subscribe to my channel, ring the bell and leave a thumb up, as it would be of a great help. If you're interested in my IRs, you can check out the link in the card above or description below, where there is also a link to a playlist of songs of mine and to my new EP, Art, Love, Freedom. Thank you so much for watching and see you soon. Bye bye.